It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
You want a healthier lifestyle, but how do you get started? Then stick with it by listening to the Fitness Revolution podcast with Shay Sandifer, of course. Your journey to greater well-being starts now.
Hello, and welcome to Fitness Revolution with Shay. I am so happy to be back. We are in May, and we all know what that means: sunshine, flowers, and farmers market. But most important, before we get to all that, let's talk about what May is all about. So it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so as we all know, we have seen over the last 3 years that we are not well as a community or as a nation. So I wanted to bring on a guest today that is empowering about being an entrepreneur, traveling all the world, being a mother, but I want to know, how does she deal with her mental health? What does she do? So no further ado, let's bring on Miss Amanda Brinkman. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, how are you today?
I am good. I think this is the time of year, being based in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, this is the time of year where you're like, oh yeah, this is why I live here. Because you're right, the sun shines out, the birds are singing, you're seeing the trees and the grass come back, like you're just in awe of nature. And yeah, and it just feels good for the soul, this changing of the seasons. Like a month ago, we were unsure why we still lived here, but right now we're like, this is why.
Right, exactly. Yes, I agree. I was out walking this morning, and it was great to be up at 6 o'clock to be able to walk, and there was sunshine. So it's Amanda Brinkman, right? You're the filmmaker, you're the producer, you're the speaker, you're the small business advocate, but most importantly, you're a mother and a wife. So you have a home. And as you're building your business, and I love your brand that says demonstrating the power of doing well by doing good. So as you live in that purpose, Amanda, and you've grown so much, right, over the last probably 10 years from being an entrepreneur, from working that corporate to that mental health piece really comes into play, right? Keeping that stability and being stable. So as I said, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Where are you right now mentally?
I'm in a really great place. So I have to say, but it's been a journey to get here. So I left corporate America about a year ago. And even though it was a well orchestrated plan, it was something I had manifested for years. It was all very much on purpose, and very excited to actually take the leap into entrepreneurship. When it actually came time to be the entrepreneur, there was a little bit of like a kind of a whiplash moment where I think, for 20 plus years of my career, I worked for someone else, and there's so much muscle memory in that, like so much around just the structure and the meetings and the team and the dynamics and the systems you use. And to all of a sudden be kind of in this kind of unknown space, even though I've been working with entrepreneurs for a long time, it was really interesting to watch my own personal journey. It was also really interesting to just kind of, wrestle with things I didn't really know about myself around things like ego. I didn't think I was someone who had any sort of weight or carried any sort of I thought I was a very, humble about my titles and the things I had accomplished within my career. But like that first cocktail party I went to, when someone asks the telltale question of like, what do you do? It was like that first moment. And so just, it was a really interesting year of just kind of really realigning and recalibrating who I am, absent of, what I do for a living.
Right.
Though even in my entrepreneurship, it's very much a huge part of who I am in my job. It was a personal evolution I'm really glad I had the opportunity to go through. And so now I'm in a really, really happy place, but it just took some recalibrating, I think, to readjust to that new identity.
And I guess I misspoke. I guess I didn't realize that you've only been an entrepreneur for a year. Because seeing you, like you said, I guess I didn't even think about your past job was actually with a corporation, a company, because you were always on the front. So this is a new journey. Okay. So as entrepreneur of 10 years, right? I left corporate America 10 years ago. There's a huge difference, right? The stress and the mental health becomes different, right? I was having this discussion with my fiance today. It's like, we used to do morning walks every day via FaceTime, and now it's like, oh my God, you want me to get up? You want to do this? The balancing now, right? Because you are in control of making your own money, number one, but also you have to be in control of how is Amanda showing up, or how is Amanda doing every day, because everyone's grabbing at you. I already know they're coming at you. So what does that day-to-day mental health awareness look like for you?
Well, a huge part of why I left and wanted to become an entrepreneur is because I wanted to create what I'm calling a portfolio career. So I've started a film studio, and that takes up the majority of my time, but there's other slices to my portfolio. I'm a speaker, as you mentioned. I'm writing a book. Adventure travel was something I wanted to carve out space for, more volunteering, more boots on the ground volunteering. And there's a number of other aspects to the portfolio career, but I wanted to be able to do more things at one time. And a huge part of that was I wanted to create this lifestyle where I controlled my own time in order, to your point, to create and make intentional space to take care of myself in a different way. I think, especially when you are a mom and a working mom, you are taking care of everyone else first. You're taking care of the demands of your team, of your job, of your role, perhaps in your marriage, and certainly of your child. And then you've got the home and everything else. And so what falls off the list? Yourself. Like you don't, you know better. We know better. There's enough research out there and people are talking about it enough, but we still, if you don't have the time set aside in your calendar, it goes undone, whether it's a task or a workout. Right. And so a huge part of my driver for wanting to leave was to be able to control my own schedule, both from a daily perspective, but like kind of weekly, and then how I think about my year. So every day I try to make sure in the morning, I'm a morning workout person. If I don't get it done.
I was going to ask you, do you work out? I got to ask you that.
Yeah.
Do you work out? I've never heard you talk about working out.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm like boot camping it like you, but I run, and I'm trying to do more strength training as I get older. My doctor keeps saying, great on the cardio. I am really cardio strong, but she's like, you're getting to that point where you need to worry about muscle mass.
Right.
So, and now I have reading glasses, so I guess it's all true. But
I need them.
So I try to make time in the morning to work out, and then I try to carve out time to have spiritual time, and that keeps evolving what I do during that time, and I love it, and I crave it, and I am better on those days when I have that time and that space for it. But we have a middle schooler, and so mornings are crazy. So, and then I've got all these different things I'm pursuing on the work side. So I think that's the biggest thing, is continuing to honor myself by protecting the time.
I love that. So let's go back to your running, right? So when, for me, like I said, I'm walking and talking to you, but during that time, are you listening to music? Are you focused on what the day is going to be? Some people can just zone out. Do you zone out?
Great question. So and I would say by running, I just feel better when I say running, but it's like a run walk. It's like I'll run for a minute, I'll walk for a minute.
Walking is the best exercise for you, just so you know. So
I love it. And my husband and I try to do it on Mondays and Fridays, because we have mornings kind of where we can do it together. We get the greatest talks in, because especially with kids around, you can't really have like a real meaningful conversation.
Right.
So we talk about deeper stuff, because we love that. Plus we're getting our movement in for the day. But I used to be, anyway, when I go out and run and walk, and I used to be a much more avid like runner, pre my daughter and years ago, I would use that time for sure for almost like it was almost my spiritual time. Like it was almost like I would either think about something, or I would spend it praying, or I would spend it. So I listen to music, but music that's like motivating and keeping me going.
What's on Amanda's playlist? What's on that playlist? Like, what is stimulating your mind? I don't know what your music is, so this is
it's a bunch of white nonsense. But but it motivates me. Yeah, but I also, okay, let's just talk about playlists for a minute. And mental health. So I have a playlist for working out, and then I have a playlist called Feeling Good.
Yeah.
You know those songs where you just like hear them, like you might hear it at a sports arena, or just like on the radio, or at a restaurant, and like you can't help but be like, you move into it makes you happy. If I hear a song like that, it goes on the Feeling Good playlist, and then I play that when I'm feeling great and when I'm not. Either way, to me, it like reframes my focus around just feeling good. And so I think music and having a soundtrack to your life is really powerful. So to me, I just took it back from physical into mental health. But for me, that's really powerful. Is like, it's all about, our minds want to go there sometimes, negative spaces, or focusing on how much we have to do. And it's only up to us to control it, to go back. And whatever tool helps you. For me, the playlist helps a lot.
I'm all for the playlist. But my playlist is different from yours. But I do have a positive one. I listen to a 2 minute, so it's my 2 minutes of meditation in the morning. It's like all positive affirmations, right? Just to get that mental going, right? Because positive thoughts. And then it goes into a whole nother world. That's a whole nother podcast. So let's just say, people laugh at what I listen to. They're like, really, Shay? And I'm like, yeah. But for me, it's just kind of like, let's go.
I think whatever works for you, you know? And I think, and I love to listen to podcasts too, but I do, to your original question about, we got down the rabbit hole on playlist. Like, I do like to have that just blank space to think, because we just don't have that anymore. I think that's why people are such big fans of meditation. Meditation's on my list of things to pursue spiritually. I can't get over the hump of feeling like I won't be good at it because my mind goes like this. Which I know is the whole point, is slowing it down. But for me, that's the closest I get to meditation, where I'm not doing
and like I said, mine's 2 minutes
content. Yeah, it's just like I like to have that blank space to just let my mind wander. It's kind of like how in the shower you do your best thinking, because you're
best thinking, singing, dancing.
I am an exceptional dancer in the shower, I have to say. It's a little bit of that.
Say, are you a big dancer? I always wonder, were you was that like was that your thing? So here you are now, you're in this space. Like I said, you are leading, you're doing so many things. And I know behind the scenes, all the little things you're doing, but you're traveling a lot. So now you're in different spaces, right? And now, as I always say, we're 3 years later, right? And something that I'm working on right now is called the Bennett Scale, right? And if you've ever heard of that, and that deals with diversity, inclusion, and stuff. And so I'm doing an event coming up. And the one thing that one of the panelists said, that I'll be moderating, that said, if you are 3 years in and you're still in denial of what's happening, like if your mental well-being is not connected to what's going on, and like how can you help that in a positive way, then we don't need to be sitting in the same table and room. And I feel like that with you, Amanda. You've done so much traveling, and you like opened your mind. And we've talked about this, about how to understand people's mental health, right? And I think the mental health for you was, let's go back to like small business revolution, understanding that that's what was needed at that time to come back home and talk about the problems here, right? Before we can go out into the world, let's talk about home base. So now you've taken that knowledge and you're applying that to your business as an entrepreneur. What do you see as still some probably mental health issues that can affect you traveling throughout the world? Or is it just a total different world out there when you go to different cities or countries?
Yeah, I think from a personal mental health perspective, I think the most jarring thing about, I love travel. I think it is so good for the soul and your overall mental health. So it is worth the things that can sometimes be the risk, which is a lot of times it comes down to routine. Like the things that really continue to feed us or ground us are the things that we do on a regular basis. And so when you travel, that gets all tossed up in the air because you're in a different time zone, different schedule. You don't have maybe your equipment or all your books with you or whatever it happens to be, whether it's physical or spiritual. And so I think what I try to do from a physical perspective is, as a fellow walker, every city you go to is super walkable. It's so great. So I just bring my walking shoes. And so you don't need a lot of equipment, and you get to see the city, explore, and move your body. So to me, I am usually able to, I went to London a few weeks ago, and it's like I was clocking 10 miles a day because I would just walk in between everything we were doing. I loved it. So that was easier for me to, so I think the physical part is easier to work in. The spiritual, it's just hard to find blank space when you're staying at a hotel and you're on a different schedule. But so what I try to really focus on is the gratitude part of my spiritual practice around just being in awe of like how many different ways there are to live and to operate, and how different communities and cultures are, and just like how big the world is. I mean, that's what I think is so eye-opening about travel, even if it's just travel domestically. I think in different parts of the country, there's different kinds of houses and architecture and makeups of neighborhoods. And so I try to always sit in that space of like awe and gratitude of just noticing the world around me and paying attention. But I think travel, that's what's so powerful about it. It's almost impossible to ignore it.
It is. And I think that is the biggest, I feel if everyone got to travel outside of their comfort zone, that would help that mental peace, because then you'll see the world through a different lens and have empathy for how others live and what's going on. Education is freedom, ignorance is bliss. And I think that's why people are not mentally well, because of that fact. So where you, I feel, have opened up like, okay, let me learn. Like you're all about learning. Like you're like, okay, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. Like as someone that's worked with you now a couple times and worked, different levels, I've seen that. Like you're like definitely like, I didn't always know that, but I'm here to learn. And so I think that's what's missing in our mental health awareness for each person, right? You got to be open to learning stuff, because if that bottles up, we see what is happening. People are not doing well. They're just not well, Amanda. Every day.
That's very well said. And I think that is the kind of the root of the problem. I think as a human race, it is our nature to want to be homogenous, to spend time with people who look like us, think like us, believe like we do, because it is more comfortable. Like no matter what side you are on politically or culturally or anything, we all do it. And so the more you can force yourself not to, and to not be too prideful about, maybe you believed one way about something, but that was only based on the data you had, or how your parents taught you to think about it, or how you were raised. And now it is our duty to go out into the world and to just gather more data, have more experiences, meet more people. And then if you still believe the same thing at the end, well, maybe you were right, or maybe that's how you want to believe. But at least you've been exposed to other ways of thinking about it versus, you know what I mean? Like if we really stop and think, how much of what we believe or think, or our subconscious or our biases, are just because it was ingrained in us. So
it was ingrained.
How do you,
or our parents told us.
Yeah, I think a lifelong sense of curiosity is a really powerful tool. Like the more curious you can be.
And I like that. It is our duty to go out in the world and learn. That is. So how can people get in touch with Amanda Brinkman?
Well, in social media, in the social media sphere, Instagram is probably my favorite. I'm on Twitter and I have a public page on Facebook too. But on Instagram, I'm at Amanda K. Brinkman. The K is important, Amanda K. Brinkman. And that's my website too, amandakbrinkman.com. And I'm on LinkedIn and
all of that. Yeah. So if anyone's looking for amazing director, producer, if you need a speaker, if you need help with your small business, right, for strategy branding, she is your person to go to. I personally worked with her on some great projects and still working. I highly recommend her. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your journey through this mental health. And I think the more we talk about it, the more awareness we'll bring to it. And as I always tell people, it's okay to not be okay, but be ready to learn of how to fix that. As always, thank you to our audience. Stay positive. As always, we're healing from the inside out. So inhale the positive, exhale the negative. This is Coach Shay with Fitness Revolution. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Check back next week for more on living your healthier lifestyle, and share previous episodes of Shay's podcast with your friends. Log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
Hi, I'm Shaletta Brundage. I'm a media personality, podcaster, and a business owner. But my most important role is mom. 3 of my beautiful kids have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. When I didn't know who to trust or where to turn, I found ACRA. ACRA provides home care services to families all over Minnesota. The care is not one size fits all. They know each one of my kids is unique. They listen to what resources we needed and what's best for our family. I've seen my kids grow and thrive with ACRA's in-home care. While autism is the most common diagnosis among ACRA clients, ACRA offers personalized in-home care services for people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, behavioral diagnosis, and mental illness. They work with children, adolescents, and older folks too. Find out more about ACRA at their website, acrahomecare.org. ACRA helps me provide my kids with a better quality of life. They can do it for your family too.
When I walked across that stage at my high school graduation, I was excited, but confused about my next step. Then I walked through the doors at Doherty Family College. Doherty Family College is part of the University of St. Thomas. It's a 2-year college that lets you earn an associate's degree and puts you on a path to your bachelor's degree. Classes are small, so I have a personal relationship with professors committed to my success. Like the name says, they treat us like family. They call us scholars because they believe we could do anything we put our minds to. They set us up for excellence with free tutoring, and that's not the only thing that's free. Laptops, books, even breakfast and lunch, and bus fare. That's part of the package here at Doherty Family College. It's even free to apply. So do like I did. Go to dfc.stthomas.edu and set up a tour. We'd be excited to welcome you to our family here at Doherty Family College.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.